Hey everybody, welcome to PPR Podcast number 119. My name is Rudy. The undisputed star of the show is to my right, Bert Grossman from NFL fame, coaching fame, president of the San Diego Strike Force, co-host of the PPR.
All right,
Who's our guest, Bert?
I shouldn't have to introduce him after 50 years at Cathedral Uni. John Montali, defense coordinator at Cathedral. I have a question. My first question. Do you remember the first time we met?
You were probably bad-mouthing Cathedral at some point, so no, just get in line.
No, it was. I was at Modern Day. It was the first year open. Me, Derek, and Joyner were coaching the defense, and Matt White thought we needed help coaching the defense, so he brought you in to have a sit-down talk with us to tell us how to coach high school football.
I actually do remember that, and I'm like, what do you need my help for? You got Bert Grossman there, guys. First-round draft. He knows his football. Derek Dahl, you guys all knew your football.
I know, but what he didn't tell you was he was only scoring 3 points a game, but he thought we needed help on defense. But that was Matt for you.
Well, shut him out, and then they can just score 3 points in the game, right?
Coach, I got to know you through Bert, obviously, and I'm curious if you could share with us a little bit of your coaching resume. How did you become the defensive guru that you are today? That's why you're in this podcast. Tell us about the little steps along the way that kind of formed your football background.
Well, I played for Ron Hamamoto back at Uni in the old Uni days. So I graduated high school in '88, and Coach Hamamoto and I had the proverbial love-hate relationship. He was a guy that brought kind of that the mentality from the southern section to San Diego in regard to summer workouts. And I like to play football. I didn't like to work out very much. So there was more than an occasion that he would show up at my doorstep in the middle of July and pick me up and drive me to the workout because all I wanted to do was play football. I didn't want to lift any weights. Maybe that, you could look at Bert and see he, that's why he was a number one draft pick and I wasn't. He lifted a lot of weights and whatnot. So anyway, long story short, I went to UCLA after high school, graduated, ended up back home and trying to figure out what to do. I was working a summer job at Nordstrom's. As you can tell with my pretty face, I was a Nordstrom's guy. And looking to figure out where to go next, and ran into Coach Hamamoto. He said, "Hey, we have some positions available up here," and I became the freshman running back coach at University of San Diego High School in the summer of 1993. Coach Hamamoto had some extra time on his hands. It took about a week. I got promoted to offensive assistant, which basically meant I was his lackey and just kind of traveled all around with him, learned as much football as I could from him. Sean Doyle was the defensive coordinator at that point. The next year I became the defensive backs coach. And once Coach Hamamoto left and went to Rancho Bernardo, it took about a year's time, but then I took over as defensive coordinator. And Sean was the head coach and running the offense. And we've kind of been the same ever since. So that was 1997, so quite some time ago.
That's a long marriage.
It really is. And I think that's part of, some consistency we've had and some continuity and maybe attribute some of our success to the fact that our freshman teams, our JV teams, and our varsity teams have all kind of had a whole lot of consistent coaching, a lot of alumni, and a lot of guys that that kind of understand the Cathedral Way. And right or wrong, it's like we're kind of living in a fishbowl and doing a lot of the same things that we learned from Coach Hamamoto, way back in the late '80s.
Do you think? I mean, I see it just over the last 5 years. I mean, you guys have the Cathedral Way, but it's kind of old school there. No social media, no nothing, no flash. But the culture's changing, and kids kind of want that. And you see more and more every year. There's more of that. Are you guys ever going to jump on that bandwagon, or how long can you stay with this model?
It's kind of a ongoing, we'll say, argument / conversation between myself and Sean. I felt like at one point I was on the younger end of this coaching. The San Diego coaching spectrum, and obviously no longer the case. we got to get some youth on the staff. We do have some young guys who have a better social media presence, and yeah, we're lousy at it because we're old. But I think we're trying to kind of get that particular angle. Personally, I think social media is both good and bad. It's kind of turned us into a voyeuristic, like, look at me type of society, and that's kind of trickled down to the, from the pros to the college to the high school ranks. So I don't know, man. I'm at the tail end of this gig. So by the time we figure out that social media thing, I'll be out of the game anyway. So yeah, we need to get better at that though, without going forward.
What you're referring to, Bert, is like all the teams have the assigned videographer that creates the reels.
Yeah, I mean, I think now you almost have to, if you want to be in the eyes of kids going there, you have to have a social media guy on your team that just does that now for high school. I mean, that's the reality of it. You really do.
Do you?
No doubt.
I think you do, yeah.
Don't wins and how many championship rings do you have in your jewelry in your closet?
I think we have 12 CIF championships and 3 state titles.
Yeah, so you have 3 rings in your jewelry case. Doesn't that speak louder than any social media reel?
I think it does now, but I think the culture is changing. I think in 3 years from now, everybody will have one, and if you don't, you'll kind of be left behind. I mean, because it's no different than college or the transfer portal. I mean, you're recruiting now. You have to. You don't actually recruit, but people, kids come out, they want to go somewhere else. That's why we have so many transfers. That's why we have all these, kids driving an hour to go to school.
Isn't it interesting, John? The thing that you guys got beat over the head with now is just the way it is in the high school ranks. You guys are the rich guys, you're getting all the best players. Now, everyone's doing it.
Yeah, well, I think that everybody's been doing it for a long time. It's now more socially acceptable. I mean, it's like I tell everybody else. Sean Doyle is a great football coach, and he's a terrible recruiter. You know what I mean? If you want to use the R word. But yeah, the climate's changed some. Public high schools are academically better now, and the programs are good. And as much as people want to believe that we just kind of bring in guys carte blanche without them having to pay tuition or anything of that nature, that's a non-truth. It's always been like that. We're always fighting to get kids in, and to be frankly honest with you. It's one of those situations where, it's hard to go to school here. I mean, academically, teachers the academics are tough, and not to mention they don't care whether you play football or basketball or in the drama program or not. There's a third-party platform here that looks at everybody's financial situation, and shoot, I wish we could bring in guys for free, but it's just not the case, But yeah, and going back to the social media type deal, I agree with Bert. You need somebody here on campus that can handle that, and it's an interesting world for sure in the social media. One that I'm still trying to figure out.
Well, the other part, you see the same thing in college. It used to be that it took 4 or 5 years to lay a foundation to turn a program around. You look at Colorado now. You look at North Texas State beats Baylor. Duke just destroys Clemson. You can turn your whole program around just from a transfer portal or transfer in high school or recruiting. It used to never be that way.
Yeah, it's crazy what the transfer portal has done, and I can only imagine being a collegiate coach and having to navigate through those waters is a whole nother job in itself.
We have a transfer portal here, in case you haven't noticed.
A question as it relates to what's going on in the college ranks. The implosion of the Pac-12, does it affect the way kids are recruited in Southern California at all? We used to send kids, and I think we still will, but it'll be to formerly Pac-12 schools, but does it change how those schools recruit if they're in a different conference?
That's probably a better question for Bert. I don't think so. I think, I'm a UCLA guy, so I love the Pac-12, but that's kind of where my focus has been. And I like watching college football and all that stuff, but to be playing in the Big Ten or the Big 12, I don't know. To me, it's like I tell everybody else, I care about two teams. I care about the Dons 1,000%, and I care about the Bruins 100%. And everybody else, I don't really care.
So who you got? Are you going to cheer for? You wearing UCLA stuff to the game this week against San Diego State?
I'm rooting for the Bruins to win the football game. I'm rooting for my guy Marcus Radcliffe, who to have another standout game. Who's starting over there at the Aztec position. As a true freshman.
Can you speak to that a little bit? I mean, what an accomplishment, and you got to feel some Don pride in that. It's hard to step up a level and start as a freshman, isn't it?
I mean, incredibly difficult. He left. He graduated early, if you will, and got into their spring football, which you don't, unless you do that, you don't start at the collegiate level as a true freshman. So, you know what? Unbelievably smart player. I like to think that our defense is a sound one, and we run a variety of coverages and ask a lot of our free safety in regards to the academic side of the game. So he really learned a lot as a 3-year starter in regards to looking at an offensive set and being able to get us set defensively. So I'd like to think that helps some, but to be honest with you, it's a game of genetics, man. And as much as people want to believe that you go to Bosco or Mater Dei, and that gets you an automatic entrance into Division I football. Sometimes it does, but it's a game of genetics. You can go to Francis Parker or Bishops or some of those smaller schools, and apparently the best defense. Sorry, guys. Apparently the best defensive lineman in San Diego is a kid that goes to Army Navy Academy. So the fact is, it comes down to your genetics more than anything else.
Do you agree with that? Is that what left you behind?
Yeah, yes. I was genetically inferior.
Hey, who is? I mean. You have this brutal schedule, this out-of-town schedule. 2 years ago, you had this phenomenal state championship team, so you have to schedule those kind of things. You see that window right there, and you have to schedule them to get, obviously seated that way. But do like down the road, these guys are graduating, and you sign a 2-3 year contract, and you got to play them again? Is that fair? I mean, I know you don't want this schedule right now. You wanted it 2 years ago because you wanted to win state, and it's a point system pretty much. You need the schedule, but. And you think it should be one and off deals for some of these teams, or you think they should be? Some of these kids are getting punished for the sins of their father being the previous team.
I actually like the 2 year.
Hold on a second, Coach.
I like the 2 year
Coach,
home and away. Yeah.
There we go. You froze up on us. Go. No, all right, you're back, Coach. Go ahead.
Easy, Mitch McConnell. Right. You pulled a Mitch McConnell on us for a second.
Exactly. I actually like the 2 year home and away. Now
we're off again.
Oh. Hang on a second. Sign back in, John. Oh, there you go. All right, you were talking about the home and away.
Yeah, let me just explain what happened there. Once our classes changed and everybody, so we at our school, you have to have your cell phone put up in kind of a pocket deal in the classroom. And once the classes change, everybody grabs their phone. And it's not all peaches and cream at Cathedral, man. The Wi-Fi just goes dead. Here we are. So to answer that question, I actually like the home and away. Those kind of showcase games like the Honor Bowl, where you're just playing, you're playing one team and you're playing a different team every year. It's just hard to prepare, especially those Arizona teams that when we played Chandler 2 years ago, it was their first football game they had played, so we didn't even have any film on them from game one, and Brophy had played one game where we had played two. So I don't know. I embrace the challenge in regards to playing these tough out-of-town teams, and obviously a lot of teams are finding out that the Helixes and the Carlsbads and the Lincolns that when you get prominent in San Diego, people don't want to play you. So you kind of have to go out and you got to go find other games. Which is tough. We know, and we want to be in the open division, whether we're, in the top 4, the top 8 or whatever. And sometimes that scheduling makes it tough. When you're scheduling in San Diego, a decent Division I team, you're rewarded more so than going out and playing a Liberty in Vegas, who's, a national power, if you will. So I don't know, things get sticky, but I don't worry about those things. That's why I'm not the head coach. I let Coach Doyle handle the scheduling, and he says who we're playing, and we try and get prepared. And sometimes we do better than others. Like, we didn't prepare very well for Friday, and it showed.
For the longest time, when I first came to town, you talked about Oceanside all the time. And then over time, and with John Carroll leaving, you started talking about Cathedral all the time and that run of state titles. Now the conversation, we're talking about schools like Lincoln, Carlsbad, maybe Granite Hills a little bit, and Cathedral's not in the first paragraph or the first sentence. Is that an oversight on the media's part, or is that just an ebb and flow of how it works in athletics?
I think it's not an oversight. I mean, we haven't performed to be this year to be considered in the top 5. So until we do that, it's like Bert said. We're not big social media guys, so I'm not sitting there following, these Twitter high school, gurus that probably know a lot less about football than they think they do and whatnot. And, so I don't really take a whole lot of salt into that. I just know where we're at. There's been times we've been ranked as the number 1 team coming into San Diego, coming into a season where I knew we had no business being ranked there. And there's times I think a lot of the team we have right now, we just haven't played very well. So when it's all said and done, hopefully we're back in that conversation. But the Lincolns and the Carlsbads and the Granite Hills, they deserve to be living in the social media limelight. And until we, prove that our names needs to be in that top 3, 4, 5, I'm happy where we're at. We got to get better. So, and it's the proverbial, doesn't matter where you're ranked now. I mean, it's where you're ranked at the end of the season. So, we got a big game against St. Ignatius up in the Bay Area. It's going to be nice and chilly. And then we come back and we battle a Helix team that's going to show us where we're at in the scope of San Diego high school football. Not, forget the Arizona and the Bay Area. That Helix game will be important because that's going to show us where do we belong in San Diego football. If we can get a win there, start talking about us. If we don't, then we'll keep our mouths shut.
I got a question for you, because when I got here, and God, forever, it's always been your rival Saints. It's always Saints. Is it Lincoln now? Is it Helix, or is it Saints? I mean, is it all just kind of even? You don't consider it a rivalry?
It depends on who you ask, I guess. I think it's a little bit more of a rivalry now than it has been the last few years, because so many of the kids are intertwined with 7-on-7. And, it's not like the old Catholic school battle of parochial schools, parochial school kids that it was for a lot of years back when I was playing and beating your guy Derek Dahl and whatnot in 87 and 88 seasons. But nonetheless, I mean, our kids in the past 5 years, it's more so the coaches that want to beat Saints, and the kids are kind of like, when are we playing Torrey and LCC and Carlsbad? Those are the kids that they identify with. But like I said, with kind of the crossover of 7-on-7 and kids going here and there, it's definitely kind of proving to be a little bit more of a rivalry now than it was. And I think, as Coach Gladnick would say, when Saints football is relevant, it makes San Diego football better.
I think everyone agrees with that. But the Holy Bowl was such a big deal for so long, and then it became one-sided, and then modern day seemingly squeezed into the Holy Bowl with you. It's not. I think everyone's keeping an eye back on the Saints now, because they seem to be turning the worm is turning at St. Augustine, I think, a little bit.
Indeed, and it's they're doing a good job of they got good coaches, and they're getting some quality players, and we'll see where it goes. We play them week 10, so I'd be lying to say I haven't taken a peek or two at what they're doing, but they have something rolling over there, and like I said, it makes for a better charity bowl, if you will, and it makes for better high school football. So we'll see, how that all plays out, when it's all said and done. But it's always a fun game to play, especially when it's played at Cathedral. And I know people want it at a bigger site, but if you've ever come to a Cathedral Saints game at Cathedral, I mean, it's an electric atmosphere.
Yeah.
It's nothing better in San Diego than that.
Agreed.
It seems like they tapped in and might have did a little tap in on your poly pipeline too. Is that true?
I mean, it would seem like it, you know what I mean? Which is, you look at a lot of the great teams around San Diego, and there's some version of a poly pipeline, if you want to put it like that. With Helix, a lot of Samoan kids and Saints, and we continue to to get some of those families, and hey, it's one of those things where you get the kids you can get, and the guys that are here you coach up. And it did hurt my feelings a little bit that when I was watching Helix at the Honor Bowl, they have a couple of Savaneyas that I know have been with them since they were freshmen. But, we had Harmon Savanea, who was on one of the better defenses we've ever had. So, hey, those are big families, and families make decisions, and you can only take the kids that want to come here and coach them up.
Describe yourself as a defensive coordinator. What is your philosophy? Who do you hold up as your guiding light in creating a defensive strategy?
Why don't you blitz more? Oh, sorry.
That's a good question. Now we're getting more of the X's and O's.
Wait, hold on. I had one funny story in that, because I was sitting there, and then you did blitz perfectly on that safety, and then they didn't call it a safety in that game.
I know.
He was like 4 yards in. I'm like, good Lord.
I know that was a big, that was a big a changing moment in that game, But there's only so much you can do. I mean, we got our nose guard got yanked to the ground about 6 times, not to be called once. But again, you can't, we're not into blaming officials. I thought that was a huge non-call. I'm confused on how that went down, but nonetheless, philosophically, because I coached the secondary. I've just never been a huge blitzing guy. It's when we're blitzing, we're blitzing. I don't know. I kind of learned from Coach Hamamoto. We want to be as sound as possible and focus on getting guys to the football. And I think that can overcome a lot of whether it be size matchups or athletic matchups or whatever. So that's kind of my philosophy, old school. We get guys to the ball. We want to play within the rules of the game, but kind of teeter on that right on that line of really kind of inflicting hits. We want guys to not want to carry the ball and catch the ball. And and I think if our better teams have done that, and some of it's coaching and some of it's just the kids inherently wanting to get to the ball.
Is it different coaching in 2023? Can you just a couple more, Coach? Do you find yourself throttling back as far as what you can say, how you can yell, what you can do as a coach?
Oh, 10,000%. I've never been. I mean, Sean's kind of the glass half full guy, and I'm kind of the half glass, somewhere in the medium range guy. But the things, I don't know. The biggest difference for me, I think, when my coaching style changed a little bit is when I started having kids of my own, and you realize that these high school kids are human beings. It'd be the same thing whether you're coaching college or the pros. They're human beings, and they have lives and things outside of football. They're not robots. They get banged up. And we've kind of decided at Cathedral a long time ago from Sean Doyle that, the positive coaching method really gets a lot more results than the old, as you guys know, being a little older than me, the George Hallis and the
We're not that old. We're not that old. We're not that old. Come on, man.
The berating of kids and the really just kind of getting after guys just for the sake of getting after them just doesn't work anymore. I think there's a fine line, and there's a kind of a medium in between. Really getting kids to do things you want them to do, and doing it in a positive nature. But if they're not, it's like I said on another podcast, I truly believe.
What podcast was that, by the way?
That was the Wild Bunch. You know, my guy.
Okay. You know what I like? I mean, that's what you and him are brilliant at your own thing and very successful, but just totally different. He's all man and blitz and bring heat, and you're all zone and put pieces in special places. I mean, I think that was great about that podcast.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, you kind of have to play to your strengths, you know, and you know, but the fact of the matter is, you know, there's a lot of different ways to get it done, and you know, I just think that in this climate, let's just put it this way. Like I said, I'm glad I'm on the tail end of the coaching world. The game's changed to where pretty soon it's going to be more of a lacrosse, rugby. You know, I mean, any good hit we all know now is a penalty.
Yeah,
so
flag.
whether it's clean or not. So I don't know. I'm going to keep coaching it the way I coach it. Let's get guys the ball. Let's be sound. Let's make guys not want to run and catch. And when that's kind of filtered out of the game, then I'll be out of the game.
We're way over time.
All right, last question, Coach.
Yeah.
Funniest thing you've ever seen on a football field?
Oh, well, long ago, I'm gonna walk and talk.
Okay.
Oh, give us a little campus tour. There you go.
Yeah, here we go.
Take us by the juice and cappuccino bar.
We're walking to my classroom, of which probably has a bunch of students in it, because actually it's not. It's still break. All right.
God, that place is like Gaddafi's palace.
Yeah, I take you for a tour of my classroom. We got some poison arrow frogs and some snakes. And I teach a real class. I'm not a PE guy.
What do you teach?
I teach biology. So, and I have for my entire career. So, yeah, they pay me 99% of my small salary to be a bio teacher, and less than 1% to be a coach. And I spend about as much time for both of them, and try and throw some time to my family as well. But God rest his soul, my guy Mario Fierro, one time way back when, there was a fumble on the sideline, and you know, they throw out the little bean bag to signify that the ball was live, and it was a fumble. And he walked over and picked up the bean bag and walked over and handed it to the official, which they weren't too pleased about. So that was a pretty interesting.
He was just trying to be helpful.
You can't be helpful these
trying to
days.
be helpful.
Coach, thank you for your time. Happy biology. We'll post this stuff at some point today and keep it running through the week. You're a good man, Charlie Brown. We appreciate you making time for us.
I appreciate you. I always spend a little time watching the PPR podcast, and I'm a little disappointed that kind of in the same vein as Jack Stevens, that it's episode 119, and I'm just getting the call up right now. So I was hoping I'd be like, I don't know, somewhere in the top 100. But
we're moving to JV coaches next week. You made the cut. You're the final one. 120 goes to JV.
Hey, anything you guys need, let me know. You know how to get a hold of me.
Oh, you're loved and respected, Coach. You made my day. Peace out. Go back to class. Podcast 119 is up.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, guys.